All right, here with head women's basketball coach Michelle Bento-Jackson. Coach, coming back, playing at home this week. You were on the road this past week, didn't get the results you wanted. You speak a little bit about last week and what you're looking forward to moving into the homestand here in Lumberjack Arena.
Yeah, sure. No, as you mentioned, we did not come away with the results that we had hoped for. However, we have struggled so far this year as a road team in general. And we've talked a great deal about this. And again, although we didn't come out with the results that we had hoped for, we were a very different team this past weekend. And I say that in a good way. I thought we just showed a lot more maturity, and we fought a lot harder. The energy was better. We put ourselves in a position to potentially win both ball games, and it was just a completely different feel. And what I observed as a coach, that we are a much better team. So there are some encouraging things to take away from this past weekend, even though we didn't get the results we wanted. So now here we are, and we're certainly excited to be back at Lumberjack Arena. We are here for the next 4 games, obviously one at a time, with this first one being against Sonoma State, who this is the second half of CC2A now. So we're hitting everybody the second round. So there's no foreign territories for some of our girls, especially all of our new players. There's going to be some familiarity with each team, and we're working hard this week to prepare for Sonoma.
And what difference do you have as a coach kind of preparing to face a team for a second time in a single season?
Well, obviously, looking a few things. Looking back on the first time we played them, where did we have success? Where did we not? Where did, in this case, Sonoma? Where did Sonoma have success? Maybe where did we do a good job against them defensively? And then, in addition to that, just how Sonoma has played since our last game, and what changes they have made from the last time we played them until now. So there's a lot of different things that go into play. I mean, the most familiarity is obviously from a personnel standpoint. We're very familiar with our players, but still, typically coaches the second time around, there's always going to be a different twist. There's always going to be a new wrinkle that coaches put in from the first half to the second half. So those are areas that we certainly have to be familiar with as we prepare for them.
And the 2 road losses this past week, they were close games, but still both losses, and the struggles on the road have been noted. What do you think is that final step to kind of take that leap from competing in these ball games to winning them?
Well, in this last weekend, especially on Thursday night, it was definitely, down the stretch, those last minute and a half. This is a situation where we did have control of the game against Dominguez Hills, and just really understanding what we're trying to do here down the stretch. And that's a game that we should have finished off. And so obviously I've gone back and just, you second guess things, you reevaluate things. How can I have been better as a coach? How can I get messages in timeouts and really be direct and make sure that we're out on the floor executing those things? So those were all learning moments for us, and things that we have to build on, because we're very likely going to be in that situation again, and we have to do better each time.
And how was it going from Thursday night, the overtime loss in a very close game, but you didn't really have to travel to Saturday's game in Los Angeles? What is that like, kind of the 36 hours between games without really having to travel, with trying to grow and get ready for the next game?
Well, it's interesting you bring that up, because I had a talk with the team in the hotel, and I've been doing this for a long time, and I say that because Thursday night's game was a devastating loss. I mean, it just was. We were heartbroken on that loss, and so as a coach, how am I going to get the team refocused in a very short period of time to be prepared for Saturday at 1 o'clock? And I was very open and direct with the team, and I just told them, if we're going to put our head between our legs and feel sorry for ourselves and just continue to dwell on this game, we'll get beat pretty bad on Saturday against a very good Cal State LA team. And so I just wanted to be very open with them as we wake up Friday morning. This game is over with. We throw it behind us, and we totally focus on Cal State LA. And I say that because, as I said, I've seen it many times where teams they fold that second game after a devastating loss. And that's something I was really proud of with this team, is we did not do that. And it was a 45 overtime game. We're playing players high minutes, getting them to recover in a short period of time. So taking everything into consideration, I was really, really pleased and just proud of our effort and our competitiveness and how they stepped out on the floor on Saturday versus LA. And again, it was a 2-point game with like 2 minutes left. We put ourselves in position. So from that standpoint, I'm taking away a lot of positives.
Even though these games didn't come out with the score you wanted, seems that you were playing, Kenya was back in, and she had 2 great games compared to the weeks prior that she really wasn't playing. Kind of, could you talk on, how she's improved and what she has changed to be better.
Right. Kenny and I had a conversation before last week's trip, and just to, instill more confidence in her, let her know that I believe in her. I know she wasn't playing maybe up to the par that she could, and I knew she wasn't playing up to the par that she could, and we had a conversation, and she did a great job of just putting some extra time in the gym last week, and to me that's always a win-win because it gives a player confidence, and she was absolutely tremendous in these last 2 games, and she just on both ends of the floor. She was just so determined on the defensive end to do her defensive assignment. She gave us a huge offensive burst, which we needed so we can have more balance in our scoring attack. And I just really loved the way she played, and she played with a lot of confidence. She took care of the ball, and so just great strides by her. And hopefully she can build off of that and continue to have that confidence going into this week's games. But she, in the LA game in particular, she pretty much carried us there down the stretch and single-handedly kept us in the game. And she, like I said, she was tremendous. I couldn't be more proud of her.
Yeah, Marley Johnson seems to do really well in that game as well, with 18 points, but playing all 40 minutes, and just as well as her stats in CC2A right now, she's first in 3 points per game. And so just kind of what else is, like, having that dynamic of both of them on the court must have been great. That must have been a good game to watch.
Yeah, well, them and everybody. Obviously, like I said, when we can get the scoring spread out amongst more players, obviously it becomes more dangerous for us as an offensive unit and in regards to the defense. And not only is Marley first in the conference, but I could be wrong, but I'm almost sure she's 6th right now in the country and 3-pointers made per game. And that's Marley's strength. I've always said she plays very within herself. Her game is very simple, and I don't say that in a negative way at all. She plays within herself, and she's also reliable on the defensive end. So she's just been extremely consistent. As a coach, I know exactly what we're going to get from Marley from day in and day out, and that's really a joy, to be honest with you. She's a huge attribute to our team.
And I'm just looking at her shot chart, they're almost exclusively behind the arc. Is that something that you've talked to her about? And obviously she knows that's her strength. She's one of the top shooters in the country. But do you wish she would take more 2s, or are you just happy with the way things have unfolded?
I am completely happy with how Marley is playing. Like I said, to me, when a player plays outside of their strengths, and I'm not saying she doesn't have other strengths, but she's fully aware of what she brings to this team. And so, to say the least, she has the ultimate green light, and I'm always encouraging her to even continue to shoot more. That's just what you got to do with shooters, is you got to let them go. And whether she has great nights or bad nights, from a shooting percentage standpoint, it doesn't bother me at all, as long as she's taking great shots, which she has a very good awareness of taking a good shot selection. And in saying that, I think her teammates around her have really established kind of, again, an awareness of how to get her shots. And that's part of knowing your teammates and knowing your teammates' strengths. And I think Millie and Kenya and more of our ball handlers have really done a great job of expanding that and getting the Marley Sarahs more shots in the game, which is huge for our team as a whole.
And especially with Amelia and Kenya kind of being more slashers, having that spacing is just an added boost. But with Kenya, when it comes to her playing time, there's been a pretty high variance. Is that something that you see early in the game? Is it matchup based that you're aware of heading into the game, or what does that look like to you? Because I think she played 34 minutes last game, and she had like a DNP just a couple weeks ago.
Right, and that was just getting Kenya back on track. Like I said, we just, we've done a lot of film watching, and she knew some things that she needed to do on her end, and I assured her that it had nothing to do with my confidence in her. I wanted her to come out with the utmost confidence, and I think she's in a really good place right now as far as, one, being confident within herself, and most importantly, just really helping our ball team. And she can do a lot of different things for us, and she's valuable on both ends of the floor. And so she's made a huge contribution this last weekend, and we hope that she can do the same.
And I know you guys have a defensive first kind of mentality as a team, but you guys are currently last in free throw attempts in the conference. Is that an issue, or do you view it as an issue, just your team not getting to the line as much as your opponents?
Statistically, yeah, that obviously would be possibly glaring to somebody, but also we have to know what our strengths are. And teams also scout us, and they know strengths. And so if our strengths, is if we're getting good shots, I don't put too much credence in, as long as we're getting a good shot selection. And for us, with our personnel, sometimes threes are the best shot for us. And so would I like us to attack the basket better? Yes, I would, but you have to understand that teams' defenses scout against us too, and there's a reason why threes are open because teams are crowding the paint on our penetration, and so it really is game by game. As long as we're staying aggressive with a great shot selection, it doesn't matter to me whether they're twos or threes.
And just having 2 weeks at home, how nice is it to not have to worry about the next road trip and just kind of let the team get comfortable where they're at?
Right, we started the second semester here academically, so obviously all the players just getting their minds back in the classroom, and now they're going to be on a more structured day-to-day schedule, which I always like. It just gives them a routine. But obviously we love playing in Lumberjack Arena, just the energy that it provides for our team. I know our girls absolutely love it, so there's nowhere like home for us, and we're just really excited to be here for the next 2 weeks.
Coach, I don't want to make you sound like a broken record. I know you talk about how much you love playing at home. I do want to bring up from right now in the CC2A, the 4 through the 10 seeds currently are within 1 game of each other,
Right.
and you're 5-0 at home. What does that mean? Knock on wood. What does that mean coming into you for a coaching confidence as well as your team's confidence? Just being able to play at home. I know you just kind of spoke to it, but kind of middle of the season, second half, everyone seems to be crumpled up, and now you get 4 straight games at home. Hopefully build some momentum towards the end of the season.
Right. Well, up to this point in the season, as I've mentioned, we were kind of a different team at home, and what I mean by that is just simply from an energy standpoint, and obviously I'm sure our home crowd has a lot to do with that. And as I spoke to the team about last week as we approached the Dominguez LA trip, is we have to be the same when it comes to our energy, our intensity, and our competitiveness. It's so tough to win on the road. So those intangible things that we can control, it's gotta be the same on the road, and that's what I was pleased with this last trip. But again, as you mentioned, the standings. I mean, right now Sonoma, for example, they're 1 game ahead of us, and this is no surprise to me. I knew this is exactly how our conference was going to be from week to week. There's going to be a jam. It's going to be an absolute dogfight. In particular, those 3 through 6 spots to make it to the conference tournament. And here we are. It's going by fast. We're in the second half now. So, in the coaching world, as I've said, you got to take care of home and hope for splits on the road. And the schedule is actually favorable to us as we hit this second half. That doesn't mean it's going to equate to wins. There's a lot of work that we have to do. But certainly we love the fact that we're home for these next 4 in particular.
Great. All right.
Thank you, Coach.
Thanks, Coach.
All right. Thanks, you guys.